Drip coffee. It is the most common coffee in America, and for most people, it is simply what comes to mind when they say a cup of coffee. Hot water slowly passes through ground coffee held in a paper or mesh filter, and the brewed liquid drips into a carafe below. The result is a clean, mild, and approachable drink. Drip coffee became a household staple in the 20th century, largely because of the automatic drip machine, which made brewing fast and effortless. It is rarely celebrated for complexity, but its consistency and simplicity are exactly why it has never gone away. Pour over. This method uses the same basic idea as drip coffee, hot water moving through ground coffee and a filter, but every part of the process is done by hand. The brewer controls the speed, the water temperature, and how evenly the grounds are saturated. That level of control allows the natural flavors of the coffee bean to come through more clearly. Pour over became popular in American specialty coffee shops in the 2000s as people started paying more attention to where their coffee came from and how it tasted. It takes more time and patience than drip, but many coffee drinkers find the result noticeably cleaner and more nuanced. Cold brew. Ground coffee is steeped in cold or room temperature water for an extended period, usually somewhere between 12 and 24 hours. No heat is involved at any point. Because heat normally pulls out some of the sharper, more acidic compounds in coffee, cold brew ends up tasting smoother and naturally sweeter than hot brewed methods. It became widely popular in American cafes and grocery stores around the early 2000s, and today it is sold in bottles, cans, and on tap. Cold brew is typically served over ice and can be diluted with water or milk, since the concentrate on its own is quite strong. Iced coffee. Unlike cold brew, iced coffee starts as hot brewed coffee that is then cooled down and poured over ice. It is faster to make and tastes more like a chilled version of regular coffee, with a brighter and slightly sharper flavor profile. Some cafes brew it at double strength to account for the ice melting and diluting the drink. Iced coffee has been around far longer than cold brew and remains a staple in diners and fast food chains across the country, where speed and affordability matter more than the details of the brewing method. Espresso. A small amount of very finely ground coffee is packed tightly into a portafilter, and pressurized hot water is forced through it in about 25 to 30 seconds. What comes out is a concentrated, dark, and thick shot of coffee, with a layer of reddish-brown foam on top, called crema. Espresso is Italian in origin, but it became the foundation of American specialty coffee culture. On its own, a shot of espresso is intense and layered with flavor. More importantly, it is the base from which most cafe drinks in the United States are built. Americano. An espresso shot is pulled and then hot water is added to it, bringing the volume and strength closer to that of a regular cup of drip coffee. The story behind the name is that American soldiers stationed in Italy during World War II found straight espresso too strong and began diluting it with water to make something more familiar. Whether or not that story is entirely accurate, the name stuck. An Americano has a bolder and more distinct flavor than drip coffee, with the character of espresso still present underneath. Latte. A shot or two of espresso is combined with a generous amount of steamed milk and finished with a thin layer of milk foam on top. The milk softens the intensity of the espresso and creates a drink that is creamy and mild. Lattes became one of the defining drinks of the American coffee shop boom in the 1990s, particularly through the expansion of Starbucks and the broader specialty cafe culture that followed. Today, the latte serves as the base for an enormous range of flavored drinks, with syrups and seasonal additions changing it throughout the year. Cappuccino. This drink is built on the same foundation as a latte, espresso, and steamed milk, but the proportions are different. A traditional cappuccino uses roughly equal parts espresso, steamed milk, and thick milk foam. The result is a smaller, stronger, and more textured drink. The foam in a cappuccino is denser and drier than what goes into a latte, which gives it a different mouthfeel entirely. In Italy, cappuccino is a morning drink and rarely ordered after noon. In America, that tradition is largely ignored, and cappuccinos are ordered at any hour. Flat white. Originating in Australia and New Zealand, the flat white arrived in American cafes with a quiet but steady following. It is made with a double shot of espresso and a smaller amount of steamed milk than a latte, with very little foam on top. The milk used is typically steamed to a silkier, more velvety texture. The drink is stronger and more concentrated than a latte, while still being smooth. When major chains began adding it to their menus in the 2000s, it introduced a lot of American drinkers to the idea that small adjustments in milk volume and texture could change a drink significantly. Macchiato. The word macchiato means stained or marked in Italian, and the traditional version is simply an espresso shot with a small dollop of foam placed on top, just enough to soften the edge of the espresso slightly. In American coffee culture, the word has taken on a different meaning. Chain coffee shops popularized a much larger layered drink, also called a macchiato, built with milk, flavored syrup, and espresso poured on top. The two versions share a name, but are quite different in size, sweetness, and intention.